Imagine if the only information that the public had in a democracy were the information that the government chose to share with us. Imagine just looking at the last 15 years, what the public never would have learned. We wouldn't have learned that the case for war in Iraq was built on trumped-up charges. We wouldn't have known that American soldiers tortured and sexually humiliated prisoners in Iraq at Abu Ghraib. We wouldn't have known that the Bush administration violated the Constitution by engaging in widespread domestic wiretapping. Now, the Espionage Act was passed during World War I, and it was used over the next century primarily to go after spies. Unfortunately, since the 1970s, and particularly in the last couple of decades, the Espionage Act has been used to prosecute people who provide information to the press in the public interest. When you're prosecuted under the Espionage Act, you're not allowed to argue that the disclosure of the information led to public benefit. The Espionage Act does not distinguish between an individual who gives information to the Washington Post in order to educate the public and an individual who sells information to the Chinese government. In the case of Edward Snowden, for example, it would be irrelevant in his prosecution that his disclosures led to actual changes in the law. Someone like Chelsea Manning, who's being prosecuted under the Espionage Act, should have a constitutional right to present a public interest defense, should be able to say to the judge and the jury, look, here is why I did this. Here are the public benefits that have resulted from these disclosures. Now, if we have a criminal regime like the Espionage Act that treats any act of disclosure the same way that it would treat a spy for a foreign power, we are preventing the public from learning things that it absolutely has to know in order for our democracy to thrive.